pushing it into the long grass, stalling the whole inquiry. This is probably the best job Jess Phillips could ever get in her life. She has been found to be lying in that respect. There's no doubt about it. I think you've been too kind to him. I think he has a particular agenda, which I would consider almost sinister, actually.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest, first time on the channel, is a former MP, Simon Danczuk, who was an MP for Labour in Rochdale in North Manchester. First of all, Simon, thank you for coming on my podcast.
It's a pleasure to join you.
Let's jump into this. You're a former Labour MP. 7 years you was an MP up in north of Greater Manchester. And Labour at the moment seem to be in disarray when it comes to the grooming gang inquiry. First of all, they didn't want it. Nearly every Labour MP voted against having it. They were forced into it by the public, by the Tories, by Reform. And the Tories are disgraceful. They had 14 years in power and didn't look at this. I mean, don't ever think this is just a Labour problem. Tories are also horrendous at this. So they're going to announce an inquiry. It's been 5 months now, no chair. It's all falling apart. Victims of the grooming gangs who are involved are all resigning. I think 5 have resigned up to now, going, this is a cover-up. You know, they're treating us really poorly. Jess Phillips is a liar. They're actually saying Jess Phillips is a liar, who's the Minister for Safeguarding Women and Girls. I've got my own theory on this. Before I tell you my theory, what's going on with Labour with this grooming gang inquiry investigation?
Yeah, it's worth bearing in mind, Nick, that I was in the Labour Party for 30 years almost. And, for transparency, I subsequently joined Reform. I have stood for Reform. I think we need to, on the broader issue, we need to sort this country out. And that's why I've got involved in Reform. But that time in Labour tells me that I have some knowledge of how it operates and the sort of actions they take. And I'm in no doubt in saying that the reason they are stalling the grooming gang inquiry is because they don't want to shine a light on what is an atrocious scandal. I mean, that's the reality of it, not least because they are implicated. And when I say that, I believe that Labour figures, politicians at a local level, and at a regional level have helped cover up this scandal over many years, and they don't want that to come to light. And they don't want it to come to light for 2 reasons. One, it will implicate some of their activists, and 2, it will damage them in terms of Muslim votes. There are people in the Muslim community who've quite clearly been saying to Labour politicians, listen, leave this alone, avoid it as an issue, and if you don't, it's going to cause you problems. So that's the crux of this matter. I think it's disgraceful. They're clearly playing politics with it, but that's the reality of where we are.
I'm glad you used the word stall, because I think that's what's going on. They were forced into this inquiry knowing they're never going to report on it. Hence why they've left Jess Phillips in post. I think she's going to be a fall guy in the next couple of months, maybe next year. When she can't take anymore, she's going to resign. The government will say, right, this is all collapsed now. We need to find a new minister. We need to start again. That's going to drag on for another year or 2. Then they're going to launch it and they're going to say, right, this isn't going to report for another 2-3 years, well after the next general election. Labour do not want to be the party that presents the truth of what went on for the reason you just mentioned, for the bloc Muslim vote. They want to be in opposition when this comes out, so they can say to the Muslim bloc vote, we're here to protect you now. Look at this. This is Islamophobic. They're coming after you because they're racist. If you keep voting for us, we're going to protect you from these Islamophobes, these racist people. It's all about votes. And it's exactly why this happened in the first place. I'll tell you what I think is going to come out if we ever get to the truth. The truth is going to be that the Labour locally in these council areas didn't want to upset the Muslim bloc vote because they rely on that to be elected. So therefore, they turned a blind eye. It's also going to be reported that some local councillors were involved in the rapes and the abuse. Not many, but some of them would have been involved. Then we're going to find out that senior politicians, Labour politicians, have known about this for decades and decades and knew the details and turned a blind eye, ignored it, and then some of them, it will be proven, hampered investigations, told local heads of councils not to investigate, told the police not to investigate, used terms such as community cohesion. If we go into this, we're going to have race riots. And I think they did all they could to keep this under wraps, not because they're paedophiles themselves and not because they agree with what went on, but because of cowardice, personal convenience, and reputational damage of the Labour Party they wanted to try to stop. I think they're the three things that are going to come out of this. Does any of that sound true to you?
Yeah, yes, it does, absolutely. And they've been pushed into having this inquiry, haven't they, as you sort of touched upon. Louise Casey, a very senior civil servant who I happen to know, and she's been around government for very many years and done lots of investigations on a variety of issues. And just to recall the recent past, Starmer was really pushed into this. There was pressure on him to have a short inquiry. He got Louise Casey to do that. She concluded, probably to Starmer's surprise, that an inquiry should take place and that ethnicity and religion were key factors in this gang abuse that took place and probably still taking place. And so he was backed into a corner, and she effectively insisted on a inquiry taking place. And then we are where we are now. And I make this important point, which is there's no chance, I don't believe, of Starmer sacking Jess Phillips, because Jess Phillips, the Home Office minister responsible for this, is doing exactly what Starmer wants, which is pushing it into the long grass, stalling the whole inquiry, not choosing a chairperson, not agreeing terms of reference. Attempting to broaden it out, which she said in Parliament was not the case, but some of the victims, survivors, have clearly shown emails that suggest they were trying to broaden it out beyond gang abuse. So she has been found to be lying in that respect. There's no doubt about it. But all of this just plays for time, doesn't it? And it's 2025 now, nearly the end of 2025. And with these inquiries, understandably, they take time. And he's hoping we'll certainly get beyond the local elections next year. And by the time any substance comes from the inquiry, we'll be towards the next general election, and they'll be over that'll help them electorally. There's no doubt in my mind that's exactly what they're doing.
This is why I want to talk to you, because you're a former MP, you're former Labour, you spent 7 years in the Houses of Parliament, so you know a lot more than I'll ever know about this. I wanted your take on how things really work there. So what let me ask you, what's Jess Phillips getting out of this? Because at the moment, Jess Phillips had a real reputation of being a bit of a bulldog, of fighting for women and girls. And even I respected her passion for that. I always called her a gobby cow, not to be insulting, but as in I worked with lots of gobby cows when I worked in communities. They got stuff done. They got police to do what they want to do. They scared councillors into doing things for their communities. Gobby cows get a lot of things done in their neighbourhoods, and that's what she was. She finally gets her dream job, and all I can see now is her ruining her reputation. Why is she doing this? Is she been? Why? Why?
Well, I'll make a couple of points. This is probably the best job Jess Phillips could ever get in her life. That's the reality of it, and that's an important point to bear in mind. So she's not going to give it up easily. So that's worth keeping in mind. Secondly, she has a wafer-thin majority.
600.
Birmingham seat, yeah. 600. And the Muslim vote is crucially important in that seat. So she's got an eye on that. She doesn't want to lose the job. She's very close to losing a seat. And then I would argue, yeah, she's quite gobby, quite a good performer, but it is a performance. And that's the reality of it. So it might look passionate when she's in opposition, when she's talking up for women and minorities. But when she's in power, when she has a position of responsibility, which she has now, then it's quite obvious that it's all been a performance. And the passion there is about her achieving the job that she wants. It's not about and the proof is in the pudding. It's not about defending poor white working class girls that have been raped and abused by the perpetrators. It's about maintaining the job that she's always wanted. Because if she had anything about her, then she would be on top of this inquiry. She's voted against it, remember. She's been pushed into having it. Why not try and bring some justice to those that have been so horribly abused? And let's get this in perspective. This is the biggest sex abuse scandal in British history. You can't, you know, that's the scale of what we're talking about. And yet she's been found wanting beyond belief. I mean, disappointment is an understatement in terms of Jess Phillips.
No, absolutely. So you think she's a career politician who's playing the game to the best of her ability, which is I want to keep my seat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to keep the job, the ministerial job. It brings a car, it brings a better pension, it brings a whole wide variety of different perks. And based on my experience of politics, and I know her a little bit, I saw her when I was in there, you know, once or twice talked to her. So, and I have an indication of what kind of person she is. And this is my assessment of it. And all the evidence plays out to suggest that what I'm saying is true.
Let's move to Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party and Prime Minister. I'm sure he's a good man. Most people are good people. And I try to accept people as good people until they prove me wrong. So I automatically think he's a good man. He's a family man. He will know the mass rape of children is wrong. It's horrendous. He must know that deep down inside. He has children. He's the most powerful man in the country. He's prime minister. Why can't he do, why isn't he doing anything about it? I understand the Muslim bloc vote. I understand he wants to stay in power. I understand all those things. But surely at some point, common decency, doing the right thing must weigh heavy on your shoulders. The morality of it. He may lose his seat at the next general election, but if he did the right thing now, he'd go down in history as the man who drew a line under this and got justice for those girls. He could have a shorter career, but go in the history books as a hero. Why isn't he looking at that? Is he a coward? Is he being controlled? You've met lots of PMs and leaders. You know more than me. What's your take on that?
I think you're very kind to him, Nick. I started off with the assumption that he was a good person in politics for all the right reasons. I'm very unsure about that now, actually. I think you've been too kind to him. I think he has a particular agenda, which I would consider almost sinister, actually. I think he's going out of his way on a whole range of different issues, whether it's Chargos, illegal immigration, the grooming gang inquiry. He has a particular world view, a globalist view, a pro multiculturalism sort of view of the world, and he's going hell for leather to implement that particular agenda. And so some of that, some in terms of the rape gang inquiry, some of that plays out there as well. So he doesn't want to upset multiculturalism. He doesn't want to upset, so you know, the big proportions of people that have entered this country over the last few years. I don't believe he's very good at politics, which is a different aspect to this. And so I raise that because I agree with you. The smart thing to do, I think, would be to tackle this head on, give justice to the survivors, and challenge the perpetrators and the enablers and take the upper hand. I think that's the smart way of doing politics. But I don't think he's very good at politics. He's doing the reverse of that. He's trying to stall it and trying to get away with not investigating it. And so politically, I think that's a mistake. But it probably suits his agenda as well. So from his perspective, it's a win-win. But for the survivors and for the broader public's perspective, it's a big loss.
So basically, you're saying that you think he is an ideologue. He's following what he thinks is the right thing, regardless of the collateral damage around him. He's focused on this ideology that he's following.
Yeah, I do believe that, and you know, I describe it as this sort of North London left-wing Labour elite view of the world. So you know, people listening and watching this can really visualize it by imagining him and Herma, the Solicitor General, is it? At dinner parties in North London, talking about how they see the world, and then if they come to power, how they would implement it. And it's all these issues around multiculturalism, having the ability, open borders, celebrating different cultures in different ways. And this is how they see the world. And now that he's got the reins of power, that's exactly what they're doing. It's tragic for Britain, I have to say. That's why I feel so strongly about it.
No, no, I completely agree. Let's end on this. So, do you think Jess Phillips can survive? What do you think will, what do you think, if anything, will bring Jess Phillips down? Do you think this issue is going to be play a major part in bringing this Labour government down? Or do you think they're going to get away with it like they have done over the last 3, 4, 5 decades?
Yeah, a couple of important points here. I don't think Stormers he will have to be dragged kicking and screaming to get rid of Jess Phillips because she's doing exactly what he wants, which is stalling the inquiry. Having said that, if there's enough public pressure, people writing to their MPs, on social media and every other which way you can raise this as an issue, then that will put pressure on. The media obviously puts pressure on. So more in the media about this will put pressure on her having to go. And I could imagine that him eventually having to get rid of her just to try and move away from the issue, to try and, stall it even longer, perhaps. So I think there is pressure for her to go, and I could imagine her going within the next 3, 5 months or something like that if the pressure's maintained. Do I think it'll bring the government down? I think it's unlikely, but there's a whole range of different issues that are playing out here, from illegal immigration through to the grooming gangs, Chagos Islands, and all the rest of it, the Chinese spy scandal, etc., which I do think is putting that much pressure on Starmer that he will struggle to last beyond the local elections next year.
So, if we get to local elections in May and Labour get the hammering we all expect, so they do badly in Scotland, they lose Wales, the local councils in England, if we're allowed to have them, by the way, they still want to cancel them, but if they do really badly in England as well, and then the MPs, who are all individuals, will go, oh, it's certain now, him in charge, I'm going to lose my seat and I'm going to lose 96 grand a year. We need a new leader. So let's say he goes in May. Who do you think will replace him? Do you think Andy Burnham can ever get back to Parliament? But I know he's being blocked from standing. Do you think he can get back? Not that he's any better, but he's a better performer. He's got better PR. And who in the front bench do you think are sharpening their knives, thinking, I want that job?
There won't be any shortage of people wanting the job. There never is. Burnham will struggle to get back because he's not a member of Parliament, but I could imagine one or two standing aside for him. Perhaps not. Perhaps not the MP for Blakely, Graham Stringer, but perhaps Andrew Gwynn, who's in difficulty in Tameside, he might stand aside for him. That's a possibility, and allow Andy Burnham a way back. Though he'd have to fight a by-election, and Reform might beat him, so it's not straightforward. The other characters, Wes Streeton would clearly be interested. I think Steve Reed is something of a dark horse and might want to throw his hat in the ring. He rarely gets mentioned, but he's a pretty good, smart centre-right Labour performer. Bridget Phillipson perhaps might be interested. She's been running for the deputy leader unsuccessfully, but she's give her some good profile. So there will be, there will be people there to do it. Whether that'll help Labour, it probably give them a little bit of a bounce in the opinion polls. But I mean, after this last 18 months, I can't see him doing that well. I don't think they will go into the next general election and win it for sure.
Yeah, I can't see how they win the next general election. That it took 14 years for us to hate the Tories this much. It's took them 18 months, and we hate them just as much, if not more. And to be fair to them, they inherited a mess, but this mess has been getting bigger and bigger over decades now. This isn't just the Tories. This isn't just 18 months of Labour. This is many generations of poor politicians and government Um, what's your what do you want for the future? What do you want over the next couple of years for this country? How do we save it? What's the one or two things that you're praying we get?
Well, the ideal would be for Labour to step aside. I mean, they've been given time and been found to fail. Starmer said he had plans to sort out a whole range of different issues, and he's come into power and he has no plans at all. So I think they should get out of the way. I think we need people to come in and govern this country, and it might be a coalition, perhaps, a centre-right coalition, reform, some of the good people within the Conservative Party, perhaps even people like Rupert Law and others, to create a government that really delivers for the British people once and for all, tackles illegal immigration, sorts out the NHS, is tough on law and order. Zero tolerance approach to these types of issues, really gets people back into work with millions of people on benefits. I mean, it's just madness, isn't it? The country is in a dire state. So I think we need a coalition, centre-right coalition, that really tackles that. That'd be my ideal, but I can only pray.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We need politicians to put parties in second place, and they need to put the country first because we're dying, and everyone can see the country dying, and we need to save the country. Simon, thank you so much for coming on today, and let's do this again soon.
Thank you.